Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Energy Newsbeat Daily Stand-Up. My name's Stu Turley, President and CEO of the Sandstone Group. Got an action-packed show today, and Michael's out on assignment. I think he's taking a nap, but that's what millennials do. Just kidding. He's a hard-working millennial, and he deserves a little time off. Well, I'll tell you what, it is just crazy out there in the energy news. Made in Germany, fueled in America. This is about some high prices for diesel coming around the corner. U.S. debt explosion may force the Fed to halt a key tightening campaign so that the financial system doesn't become unstable. They haven't got it done so far. Let's kind of hang on and see what's going to happen. U.S. doubles imports of uranium from Russia, its largest since 2005. I got a few jokes on that one, and Putin is waiting for my imitation of him. UK oil and gas giant cuts investments and defers projects over windfall tax. Couple things like my good friend Irina Slav says, sanctions don't work, neither do windfall profits tax. Both of them are pretty stupid. So let's go over here to the last article. It'll only be a matter of time until the ESG movement is R.I.P. This one's kind of crazy. I've been saying this for a little while. There will be a time of revolting, and investors are revolting. And I've got some other jokes on that, but we'll go ahead and leave that alone until I get to that story. But for all of our wonderful listeners, thank you so much for listening to the Energy Newsbeat podcast as well as the Daily Stand-Up. I love all of my guests, love all the listeners. We have such a fantastic interaction with folks. We also have some great leaders, industry thought leaders from around the world coming. And I mean, I'm so excited about some of them. Leaders from Africa. I've got other leaders from the U.S. Just a lot of big fun. I've already got 5 in the can that I'm trying to get out as soon as we can. And it's all about ESG and taking care of the environment. So not bad for an energy kind of podcast. But let's start on this first story. Made in Germany, fueled in America. When we sit back and we take a look at what the price difference is on natural gas versus what natural gas is in the UK and the EU compared to the US, this is frightening. And when the EU lost the Nord Stream Russian imports, it is absolutely bonkers. European gas futures predictably relinquished recent gains as fears from Australian LNG strikes receded after Woodside Energy struck a tentative deal with the unions. The most interesting EU gas story last week was BASF deal to import U.S. LNG from Cheniere. We like that, which could save the German chemicals plant as much as $4.8 billion compared to buying gas at European wholesale prices. Wow. You know, that is just absolutely nuts. Typically deals are struck just like this one, BASF. They had to shut down last month. BASF just had to shut down a fertilizer plant, which again snowballs in the whole energy cycle of problems for food, inflation. The world revolves around energy, and this is another example of it. At the close in the different ports or different hubs, Henry Hub is 266. Just as a price for natural gas. The JKM and the TTF and the NWE LNG, those are all between 1196 and 13.46. Tells you that there is a significant difference and an incredibly amount of difference between the U.S. and what the UK has to pay for natural gas. You got shipping fees, you got to transport it across the ocean, you got to degasify it, and then you got to get it into the pipes. It's expensive, but that price is nuts. Why doesn't the U.S. really take advantage of it here? Don't know. But anyway, in 2019, the world was awash with gas. I love the way they said that. The cost of liquefying and transporting it. There were, I believe, 29 different 67 cargoes had to be canceled because of COVID and the lack of purchasing. That's all changed. Geopolitical issues and sanctions all changed all of that. So you got to love Cheniere. You got to love LNG. You got to love the great United States energy machine. With that, let's go to the next one. U.S. debt explosion may force the Fed to halt a key tightening campaign so the finance system doesn't become unstallable. A couple bullet points here. The U.S. debt binge may force the Federal Reserve to halt quantitative tightening campaign so the financial system doesn't become unstable, according to the St. Louis Fed. The Treasury Department has issued 1 trillion T-bills since June when the debt ceiling standoff was resolved, and another 600 billion before the end of the year. That is nuts, quote unquote. Although there are currently ample reserves, there is some lower levels of reserves that can cause stress in financial markets, the St. Louis Fed economist wrote in a paper. So as the Fed continues with QT it will need to evaluate when to slow and stop redemptions to avoid draining too many reserves from the banking system and caused undue financial stress. Personally, I don't think they know what they're doing. And the only way, again, I stress, you've got to get your energy policies in line, energy security, before you can even try to tackle the monetary system. You can't do one without the other, and they're not even trying. So market funds have largely been on the sideline due to the Treasury T-bill. There is a risk that R.R.P balances remain sizable and bank reserves represent the majority of the contraction of the Fed liabilities as QT continues. Buckle up. Okay, let's go to the next story here. The next story, U.S. doubles imports of uranium from Russia, the largest since 2005. This to me is just about as amazing as it gets. 3 weeks ago, President Biden signed a new order prohibiting uranium mining near the Grand Canyon. However, there's uranium mining that had been approved by the EPA and by all means where it would not be harmful to the environment or to the Indian native lands. But now they're reconsidering all of that. And so I've got a question. Is this uranium, any of the uranium that Hillary and Bill sold from the U.S. supply to Russia, is it coming back? I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. I'd be kind of curious to see. March, U.S. senators call for a ban on Russian uranium. What are they going to do when we're going to be spending $69.5 million, the highest since 2002? We buy 32% of all uranium imports comes from Russia. We are about as dumb as it possibly gets. The first half of 2023 bought 416 tons of uranium from Russia. That's 2.2 times more than the same period last year and the largest since 2005. We are complete morons. I don't get it, and I don't understand why we're not trying to become energy independent. But that's what BRICS is all about. The rest of the world is going away from the United States, and it's because of our leadership. UK oil and gas giants investments and defers projects over windfall tax. You cannot just go out and provide windfall profits tax and not think it's not going to hurt businesses or consumers. Ithaca Energy, one of the largest oil and gas producers in the UK, has produced investments and is deferring some projects this year due to the burden of the windfall tax Britain has levied upon the industry. Nobody says anything about the record losses that the oil and gas companies have had when COVID hit. They said, oh, you got to keep pumping oil. They think that people around the world think that $2 at the pump or $3 at the pump is all it takes to get that gasoline there. You got to refine it, you got to drill it, you got to explore it, you got to haul it. There is a lot to it. You got your iPhones, you got to have the petrol, you got to have the downstream items to do it. The windfall tax, so-called the Energy Profits Levy, has prompted many companies operating offshore in the UK to cut investments and review projects. Holy smokes. After the UK raised the windfall tax to 35% at the end of last year, the Harbour Energy, the biggest oil and gas producer in the UK North Sea, backed out of their latest licensing round. I don't blame them. And you said Shell says it would be reevaluating each project, compromising its 30.5 billion or 25 billion pounds planned investment in the UK energy system. Total Energy, as Michael says, it also says it would be slashing its business in the UK by 25%. This article is just amazing. You cannot have low energy prices with sanctions or windfall profit tax. Let's get into discussion, but you can't isolate your pipe dream inside a bubble and expect it to actually work. You got to sit back and you have to hand it to the oil and gas companies for going out and saying, wait a minute, we're holding our commitments to our investors. We are holding our commitments to doing the best we can for the environment. So let's go ahead and go to the last article here. You got to sit back and what is going to happen to this one? Consumers are going to pay more for energy because of the windfall profits tax and then the subsequent response by the oil companies. It's only a matter of time until the ESG movement will R.I.P. Well, BlackRock is really, not only are they leading the investment hypocrisy, they're leading in the ESG hypocrisy. So when you sit back and take a look, this is an opinion piece, and I agree with it. And the BlackRock is now backing out of ESG, but yet they're still marketing themselves as an ESG investing firm. But they're greenwashing what they had been doing. They weren't letting everyone know that they owned Middle East oil and gas pipelines. They've owned all these other things, and they say, "Oh, we've never done that." You lose 2.7 trillion, you're going to start admitting to it. So many shareholder proposals were overreaching, lacking economic merit, or simply redundant. They've now announced that they're only approving less than, or they're not approving 94% of the ESG energy policies or programs that are being dropped off on their doorstep. So they are realizing that there is not a market for not getting returns. Look at the bank failures in the United States. People are starting to wake up and realize that you cannot have windfall tax. You cannot have sanctions. You can't have ESG without accountability. Without accountability, you've got to be able to have common sense, commitment to the environment, commitment to the investors, and a balanced approach. All of these stories all kind of interact with each other. And it is just, we've got to have some common sense. So if you're an energy thought leader, if you're a CEO, if you are a author, if you are in the wind, solar, nuclear, if you're in the geopolitical space, if you're in international or in the US, I want to talk to you on my podcast. I have so much fun and I learn from everybody. Have an absolutely wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow with Michael. Have a great day.